All right. So the secret to getting ranked at the top in the Google map, you definitely have to claim your listing. You have to get what we call citations, a lot of these mentions from these other websites back to yours. And then you need to get reviews. The more reviews, the more positive reviews you can get, the higher you're going to rank in that 3-pack of results. Here are some ideas for citations. I mentioned some of these. Facebook, obviously, any kind of vendors that you are working with, it perhaps could list you in their business directory. Associations like WCAA, the network, House, Yelp, your own, somebody else's blog. You can actually write content for somebody else, that kind of stuff. City Search, Levelor. So lots of places, lots of ways to get these citations from other sites. Amy says, what do you think about Podium for SEO? Other companies that work as well, but less expensive. Yeah, I mentioned LeadBoomerang. So Podium really is not an SEO tool. They are simply, from what I understand, they have that little chat widget, which is awesome. And they have a couple other just tools, but they're very expensive, $300-400 a month, I think. LeadBoomerang does all of that. We modeled that off of Podium as one of the things, but it does a lot of other things like CRM. It does the email marketing. So it does call tracking. So all of these different tools that a lot of businesses are paying for individually are all built into LeadBoomerang as one tool. They claim they will cause your site to rank higher. Okay, I don't know. Maybe they have an SEO type service, but at the end of the day, if you're not doing it ongoing from an SEO standpoint, if you don't keep your foot on the gas, you're not going to get far. So from time to time, we'll get somebody calling us, say, hey, we want to do a little bit of SEO, thinking that if they can just throw $1,000 at it, suddenly they're going to rank at the top, right? And they can just do that twice a year or something like that. Really not the case. Google is looking for this long approach where it becomes a hockey stick, right? All of a sudden there's some sort of tipping point where you just really start ranking really well. But that's just up for a period of time before that happens. Dan asks about how to shoot professional photos. So fantastic thing. Let's talk about that. So one thing you can do with Google Business Profile is upload photos. Obviously, you can also have a gallery on your site. But a couple things. A lot of businesses, a lot of window treatment companies will use these just awesome photos from Hunter Douglas and Graeber and some of these guys, right? They have these just awesome pictures. The problem with that is those same pictures are on a couple thousand websites. So Google is not yet smart enough to know what's in a picture, but they're getting better with this. But they can that this is the same living room on these 100 or 1,000 websites, right? So you can obviously pay somebody to shoot professional pictures, but there's a school of thought now in like the AG world that I'm in, that pictures from iPhones and Androids taken at homes after install probably have more value, even though they're less professional. They have more value because when you take a picture with your iPhone or your Android, there's also location information embedded in that picture. It's also a one-of-a-kind picture. Nobody's ever taken that picture before. It won't anywhere else online. So think about that. Getting those pictures. This is hard if you are not the installer, or if your installers are not super technical, right? In a perfect world, you would want like a before and after taken from the same angle with the nice lighting and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you can just get pictures that are pretty good, from a client, something like that, or your installers, or if they're willing, can really help you more than some of these gallery type pictures that all the vendors let you use. Jody says, not just photos, videos too. Absolutely. Especially on the motorization. If you can shoot a video of the awning opening up, right? Or the shades going down, those sorts of things can really do some wonders for you. The other thing nice about video is it keeps people on your website a little bit longer. And we already know that is a ranking factor that Google's looking at. The longer somebody spends on your website, that's a little check mark in their box that they spent some more time there. They may have quality information than a competitor because they didn't stay as long, right, on the site. So building links, again, not easy, but definitely worth your time to do so. Lots of places to get those links. And then, one thing that you see that these things have in common, or several things, obviously they claimed their listing. No spam in the company name. So you have to use your actual company name. You can't use Shine Drapery and Interior Design Window Treatments in St. Louis, Missouri, right? That's not the name of their company. So you got to be real careful not to put any extra spammy words in your business listing. Get lots of reviews. That's just an ongoing process you have to go through. Make sure that your keyword is in this title tag. This is where we're getting a little nerdy on the SEO side, but have your keyword in there. St. Louis window treatments is probably the biggest thing they want to rank for. Lots of citations. I mentioned that several times. And then a solid link profile. So just working on getting more links from other websites. A bit of a long-term project, but definitely can reap some benefits. So when we talk about all this stuff, it's all great and it's help your business grow, but you need to be able to track this, right? So that all the things that you've done have actually moved the needle in some way. There are a couple tools out there that do this. A lot of agencies such as ours offer these sorts of reports that in a lot of cases, our clients will log in, look at, shrug their shoulders and say, okay, well, something's happening. I don't know what, but something's happening, right? Google Analytics is another one. Google Search Console that I mentioned earlier is at google.com/webmasters. Definitely go in there, claim your website in that system as well. And the difference between this and Google Analytics gives you data about the people that visited your website and what they did, how they moved around, what pages they looked at, how long they spent, those sorts of things. Google Search Console gives you your website versus everybody else and how they are working together in Google. So it could be like this one. Let's just take this example here. 665 million impressions. That means this website was in the top 10 on page 1 for 665 million different searches. That's a lot, right? But that doesn't mean every single person, every time your website came up in Google that somebody clicked on it, right? They probably only clicked on one or two, the first couple results, but that was still called an impression. But out of that, 26,000 people clicked. So you can start to see from Google's standpoint, how are people engaging with your website or not engaging with your website? Google.com/webmasters. Really, the first thing there is to claim it and then make sure that all of the health factors that Google shows you are green. That would be a great start to this. Obviously, tracking your keywords. Once you have a good list of keywords that you want to rank for, watch them and make sure that over time you're going up. And one thing I will say is don't look at your keyword every single day or every week, because you're going to go crazy, right? You're going to be ranking number 1, then you're going to move to 2 or 3, and then back to 2, and then down to 3 and up to 1. That can drive somebody nuts, right? But definitely be looking at the overall of keywords over time. Definitely important. Dan says Google warns or repels prospective reviewers reuse of their info. Not sure I understand what you mean. Prospective reviewers reuse of their info. So maybe, explain a little bit more what you mean, and I'm happy to answer. Sorry. The other piece here is call tracking. It's very important that you're doing all this work to get people to your website or to your Google profile. It's very important that you track those people as well. So one thing, even with Google Analytics, right? You can see people that came to the site, how they clicked around, but at some point they're going to pick up the phone and call you. So it would be nice to know that that person called you because they visited your website. So we employ call tracking on websites. We employ call tracking on Google business profiles. Those are special phone numbers that just go on those platforms and they forward to your regular line. But that way, you know specifically that call came from that platform. We just had a client today ask us for a call tracking number for their newsletter. So they're sending out a newsletter and they want to track how many people actually call and engage with their business because they sent out that newsletter. So call tracking can be super cool, a great way to see how the different things that you're doing are creating or not creating results at the end of the day. Call tracking gives you a list of people that have called, who they were, where they called from, whether it was from the website or from Google My Business. In this case, remember I said most clients, this is how it looks. They're getting most of their calls from that 3-pack and not necessarily from their website. Very important. So